it is just about trying to get the truth out. As we've got those heavenly bodies on this elliptical orbit, 3,600 year cycle, these objects are out there.
Oh dear, here we go again. The 3,600 year cycle to which you are referring is to do with Nibiru, for which there is no evidence, neither in the ice cores or dendrochronological records. Primarily because Nibiru is a fantasy, made up by an unqualified accountant with a book to sell. He just made it all up. He couldn't read the language on the tablets and had no archaeological qualifications to decipher the iconography. He did what you do, Matt. Made it up as he went along.
Our sun is being hugely affected, and we're seeing different colours beaming through on our horizons, as we've got the sun's companion star, Nemesis, now in our inner solar system, causing huge problems.
Make your mind up, Matt. You were referring to Nibiru, not 3 minutes ago? Nemesis has thus far been proven not to exist by extensive infrared sweeps of the solar system, although it has been agreed that possibly the sun had a companion when it first formed, and it has been observed in other systems that this seems to be fairly common, and that they then drift apart and do their own thing. But it isn't anywhere near us, because if it was, planets would be leaving orbits, and it would be observable using a moderate telescope. And please don't go on about they're hiding it, because how do you hide a light source without hiding the light it's showing? That really is a breakdown in logic, isn't it? Pretty sunsets and sunrises are for most of us normal, and for some of us that use a bit of research, it's understood why they are that pretty. Look up Rayleigh scattering and my scattering. It answers so many questions, and using Occam's razor is a lot more simple than a very complex plot to try and hide an imaginary bloody planet or sun.
There are many telescopes across our world that are locked on to Nemesis and these other heavenly bodies. They are tracking it right to this hour, to this very, very day.
No, Matt. Many telescopes are tracking existing comets and asteroids, as well as discovering more as time progresses. One of these is more likely to become an issue one day, which is why they are tracking them, so we at least have a chance to possibly do something about it when the need arrives. Telescopes are also looking far deeper into the universe, and as the WISE survey already discounted the Nemesis theory, I don't think they'll be wasting time looking for it still. Do you?
This is the SPT telescope, Nibiru tracker, down at the South Pole.
I think I see where this is coming from, Matt. You seem to be recycling the same old shit you used to talk on your old channel. And you've been corrected on the SPT radio telescope before. And there's the clue. It's a radio telescope, not optical, and it's actually looking at the CMB, otherwise known as the cosmic wave background radiation, left over from the Big Bang. And the reason it's where it is because the atmosphere is thin, clean, and less turbulent than more temperate areas, where optical telescopes are used, which benefits this particular area of research.
This is an Elgard LC-130, and this plane is carrying scientists and employees to the SPT telescope down at the South Pole. Now, the thing is though, this plane is very expensive for fuel to get over to the South Pole. The true reason as well that they are tracking this system down at the South Pole is because they can pick it up so clearly. They can see those objects. Now, again, it is expensive for the Elgard plane to...
This aircraft costs no more to run than any other, and different planes are used for personnel and cargo, though I am sure if it coincides with an influx of cargo and personnel, they will share it. This would be cost effective, wouldn't it? This particular plane is mainly a cargo carrier, used for its payload capacity, because I would imagine it's far cheaper to bring in a large amount of supplies or equipment than using multiple separate flights.
If you have a serious think about this, they could have easily put that telescope down at the South Pole, in another area down south, to be able to track things in the heavens. So, indeed, they have placed that SPT telescope on purpose down there. This information needs to get out because more people need to be awakened to the truth.
Please see my previous comments, and the only truth we need is that you're an idiot.
They also have the LBT telescope, Lucifer, in Arizona, scanning the skies, tracking the system.
The LBT is run by a mix of educational bodies and scientific bodies. Part of its remit is an experimental testbed for new technologies to improve terrestrial observations. Amongst many of its actual jobs it does, it acts as a wide-field, prime-focus optical imaging device. It can see in infrared. It also does spectroscopy, multi-slit spectroscopy, ultra-high-resolution optical spectroscopy, diffraction-limited infrared imaging and long-slit spectroscopy. So it does quite a lot. And it's also looking at exoplanets. That is, planets orbiting other suns, not fantasy systems hoving into view.
These are two genuine images of this system that's incoming, and these were picked up by that SPT telescope down at the South Pole.
No, Matt. It's an image of a defocused Newtonian telescope. Please note that it's a Newtonian telescope, not a radio telescope, so it can't have been the SPT, can it? You can tell that a so-called hole is caused by the secondary mirror, much like as in my picture, where I didn't get my telescope focused properly on the nebula in Orion's sword. It's not difficult. The slight tail and off-centeredness is caused by shake during imaging.
This true article, what you see, is Dr. Robert S. Harrington, the chief astronomer of the US Naval Observatory, died before he could publicise the fact that Planet X is approaching our solar system. Many feel his death part of a cover-up, one in which the government agency quickly moved to conceal the most earth-shaking discovery in history. If so, the search for the truth begins in New Zealand. Now this genuine researcher and astronomer had a telescope in New Zealand, and the information was covered up. And sadly, on the 23rd of January 1993, Harrington died of a rapid onset of aggressive cancer. I mean, this information is very true. The governments across the world are spraying our skies, covering up this truth.
Not the Harrington trope again, and using your own USA as a source is run by Marshall Masters, the biggest conspiratard twat going. Dear oh law. Once again, Harrington was working with faulty data. The mass of Neptune had been incorrectly calculated. This was the only reason they thought there was a planet X. With the flyby of Voyager 2, they were able to correct this. And when done so, it was found there was no requirement for a planet X to explain the perturbations in Neptune's orbit. Calculations were done by 1 Miles E. Standish, and Harrington was aware of this before his untimely death, which was not murder.
Here we have another astronomer, Dr. Brian Marsden, who studied astrophysics, but knew that the Nibiru system is out there in our inner solar system. These people again have been hushed down.
Brian Marsden was in charge of the Minor Planet Center, whose primary job was to track comets and asteroids in our solar system. He died from a condition called myelodysplastic syndrome, which progressed to leukemia. He died in 2010. The condition affects the production of new blood cells. The typical age of onset is in the 70s. He was 71 when diagnosed. In 2008, the typical survival rate is 2.5 years for this condition. And the fact that he lived for 2 of those years shows that it's hardly an efficient way to shut someone up if they are privy to the whereabouts of a fantasy planet. Is it? The condition also affects 7 in 100,000 people, so it's not uncommon.
The President, just a short time ago, tried to stop and speak out as well to the public for these chemtrails, to not be spraying our skies. But indeed, all governments across the world are very worried about this, and we still continue to see the spraying. All they're doing again is spraying our skies towards the area of the sun, so people do not pick up that heavenly body out there in our inner solar system.
Chemtrails are just another bloody conspiracy, but they've come in pretty handy for those who want to use them to hide their fantasy planets, which is odd as we can see every other planet in our solar system, and 5 of them, if you know how, can be seen in daylight. And as you know, I spend a lot of time looking at the planets, the solar system, and the myriad of stars in the night sky. Where are your sources and citations for Trump doing this? I bet it's some conspiracy site. And how come I can see the sun unobstructed by clouds or contrails for a majority of the year? I mean, winter's a bit iffy, but that's expected with the weather. But I have seen it 3 or 4 times this week and even taken photographs of it. It's almost as if they want me to notice it.
There is also hard evidence that our Mother Earth has gone through many pole shifts.
Well done, Matt. You've actually got one thing right. And that is so long as you are referring to a magnetic pole shift. And this is shown in the geological record. So it really should be considered part of the Earth's natural cycle. Rather handily, there appears to be no evidence of mass extinction during periods of change either.
Even the Earth's magnetosphere is acting very strange. It is not normal anymore. It used to be just a smooth running system, but now things have changed.
The magnetosphere is a reactive shield. It has weakened in response to the sun's quietening down as it goes into its minimum phase. The software output you are showing has a beta rating on it, as it is still being tested and refined. And as it has done from time to time, it has glitches and just shows complete gobbledygook when everything is fine. This is not proof of a major problem. When the sun wakes up again, the magnetosphere will strengthen again in reaction to it. That is how it works.
Indeed. All what's happening now is that we've got our companion, the sun's evil twin, Nemesis. It's causing a lot of problems in our solar system now.
Nemesis again. Look, if there was a second sun, or indeed something the size of a brown dwarf, planets would be currently leaving their orbits left, right and centre, and it would be visible to the human eye, because as we know, nobody's hiding anything, and I can tell you that because I keep using my telescope to look up at the sky. Very clever that way.
We have a big problem with the jet stream as well. It's causing cold spots. This is why we get the bad weather for a short time. And again, they chemtrail and spray, covering up these cold spots, but it isn't working. It's just a meaningless attempt to try and save the Earth.
Yes, the jet stream has moved, but that's down to climate change, something we as a species have had a very large hand in. For the most part, it has affected the extremes of weather. But winter, which we're in now, Matt, is still winter, and not an abnormality that is being chemtrailed into oblivion to hide it. How would that work exactly?
Yet another Planet X tracker, the IRAS telescope, was taking images, and it came back with an explanation that things had broke down. I mean, this infrared telescope was built for perfection, and all of a sudden, things just went wrong. And then the information was just hushed up.
IRAS now, is it? You really haven't done your research, have you? It wasn't a Planet X hunter. It was sent out to have a look in infrared at what was out there. The sensors of the IRAS were cooled using superfluid helium to keep them at temperature of 2K, or minus 271 degrees C, so they could see efficiently in the infrared they were supposed to be looking in. The cooling system works by evaporation, which means it is a constant loss system. It lasted 10 months, in which time it mapped 96% of the sky 4 times. So it didn't just go wrong, it did the job it was designed for and was limited only by the amount of supercooling fluid it could hold.
Just like the other information as well, from researchers, and to the true information that was brought out in 1983 of the mysterious heavenly body. Here is the report from the Washington Post, back in 1983, the mysterious heavenly body found close to Earth.
The information was not hushed up. For one thing, it's all over wikisky.org, where you can go and have a look at it to your heart's content. When they originally got the data, they were not entirely sure at the time what they were looking at, as this was the first time they'd used infrared. The papers ran with the most exciting option of those that were given at the press conference. As it turned out, once the data was processed, it wasn't a planet. 9 were distant galaxies, and the 10th was an intergalactic cirrus. All this information is out there, Matt. You just have to actually go and do research rather than looking at conspiratard twat sites. So what we have here, folks, is Matt's very own Gishgallop of utter bullshit. It sounds like he's resurrecting all the crap from his old channel. Well, there's your answer, Matt. You're still wrong. Get over it. And I thought you were going to quit.